Hello. Hi. It says I'm live. Y'all see me? Hello. I'm bringing you guys some Oliver content. He's kind of itching to kind of go his own way. Hello, guys. Welcome to your first live, Femk. I hope that I pronounced that correctly. I may have to get up and let Oliver out of this room, although you have everything you need over here, buddy. We'll see. Hi, wrenches. Hey, guys. Cat cam. I know. That's the one thing about being in this apartment. I hope my audio is okay. Guys, I have to get up and let him out. But I hope it was worth it to get to see him for a couple of seconds. There you go, buddy. Bye. See you afterwards. That's the only thing, is that I have a room now where I get to do this, which is awesome. But then that means that I don't really get to, we don't get to share the cats as much. EEH. I forgot. You told me what your name is. Emma, Elizabeth, Evelyn. Thank you for the donation. I'll try to remember. Hope you're doing well and have a good rest of your week. That's all. Thank you. That's so nice. Hey, No Name. Quick moment of positivity. Major props to Simone Biles for putting her mental health first and being a good influence. I have no idea what happened, but to Simone Biles, thank you. Congrats and all that. Is Amber in here? She is. Hey, buddy. You love the pic of me and the thumb. Thank you. Amber's always very supportive of like my outfits and my thumbnails. I made a joke, I think last week, that like Amber's like my older sister that like sometimes watches my video. She watches all my videos, but not necessarily at the time they come out, which I totally understand. Let me get comfortable here. I finally got myself a little side table to hold my stuff. Thank you, Bunnyheim, for saying that my entire room is a work of art. It's always going to be. I was going to move those hats. Those bother me that those are in frame. It's always going to be changing, and that's just how it's going to be. But it never ceases to. I never forget about how one of the stands referred to my set as the most wine mom thing ever, when I'm just like, do you know what, like, do you have a Facebook? Do you know, like, moms, like, in their late 20s, early 30s, do you know, like, about these people that have MLMs that want to push them to you? Let me see what else is said. Amber, you're so sweet. Thank you. And if anybody's wondering, yeah, Wine Mom is a live, laugh, love. And Say Jack and I, you may have seen some of the conversations that we have around this, where like Say Jack's thing is to be like, live, laugh, love. And mine is always like, yes, can I get that on some teal chevron striped shiplap boards? To anybody out there who's got shiplap boards and anything teal or chevron stripes, I'm sorry. But if it were to be all that kind of stuff, maybe. Sorry, guys. I really should take care of this stuff ahead of time. And I try to, but then I try to make adjustments here because I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys optimum sound. I don't watch these in the playback, so I don't know how good the sound is. Morgan said, because I know we all want to know, where is that top from? I don't know. I think it might be Three Bird Nest. All I can do probably at this point is recommend to you guys like the stores that I'm shopping at, the online shops, so you can go like look and see if you like their stuff, because I love BAP so much for like really like reigniting this spark, this love of fashion. But I find these little shops online Thank you to my phone listening to me. Thank you to Instagram and Facebook ads, because they really do recommend things that I love. Like, there are sometimes, granted, when they show up, they don't look as pristine, but there are sometimes where I'll be like, that dress is so beautiful, I could never afford that. And then I click on it and it's like, this dress is $40. And I'm like, oh, I actually can do that. So what about this for just something to try for now, is that when I find a new store, I can recommend it to you guys. I have talked about Three Bird Nest. A lot of their stuff is pretty boho, but I will say that this right here is one of their more like jazzy pieces. A lot of them, I can even just reach over here and grab them. I love them so much. Some of the stuff that they have are really like basics. Here, let's just do a little fashion haul. And I'm obsessed with the concept of a brami. So if you don't know what that means, it's a combination of a cami and a bra. That just looks like a bra. And especially for those who work at home or work from home and or just want something comfy that they can wear to bed, but also like feel like you're wearing clothes when you wake up. That's another one of them. This one I love. It's a little bit like high neck. I have it in blue as well. So these I super, super love because they're really comfy, and like when I wake up, I can put on just like a pair of pants and I'm like, I'm dressed. Different from a bralette. Yeah, sorry. It's I would say combination between a bralette and a cami. I do have some that are like more, I picked some of these up that are like more bralettes. Like, I don't know. I could see myself doing the same, wearing them around the house and feeling comfortable. Like maybe even getting on like Patreon lives and stuff. But I don't know if I would wear them out in public. This one came from Three Bird. That was from Target. This one came from Three Bird Nest, and I have worn it out. But also, it is more like, it is high neck, which I think helps offset the fact that you can basically see my the nubs. It's like a bralette, but like a cami as well. Leaf says crochet is not made to be made by machines, so are often made with slave labor. Didn't know that. Thank you for letting me know. I'll look into Three Bird Nest. Like I said, this is the only thing that I saw that was crochet there. So hopefully, I hope that this was made ethically. And if anybody's wondering, I am feeling better than I was last week. It's still like, just full disclosure, still not the best. But I think I'm getting there. Like, I feel like I've been pretty honest with my audience about just like how things have been going, and it goes like this, just as it's supposed to go, like this. Sometimes I'm way up here, sometimes I'm kind of down here. I appreciate you guys letting me take a break. Obviously, we still did a BAP and we still caught up on our Patreon stuff. But, just allowing me to just clear my schedule for the rest of the week was just a huge relief. I hate Urban Outfitters. The quality, like I can tell the quality of the clothes, and it's just ridiculous for me to like, the quality is not nearly as good as this, and like something that looks like this but like way cheaper looking and feeling would be like $80. Another thing I should note though, that for those of you who miss cat content, I do the Patreon stuff that I do, I typically do from my little home office, which I love. I'm still working on decorating it. In fact, that's everything in my home is going to be a constant work in progress, because I just love to change things and optimize things and blah, blah, blah. But I have a little, like, if you don't know my apartment well, essentially it's a huge open layout. Like out there is just a huge open space. In fact, the kitchen is really just appliances against the wall. So I've created a space that is like my office, my home office, which is sectioned off to fit the size of an 8x10 rug. And then I have all my furniture in there that I need for an office. And I try to make it cute. And for all of my Patreon stuff, I do that out there. And so that's when you get a chance to see the cats. I am sad that you don't get to see them in BAPs or really in videos anymore. With videos, I might be able to leave that door open and like let the boys come in. I'll just have to edit it out if Atticus decides to go buck wild. Hashtag water gang. What did Leaf say? Everything Leaf says is true. Bitches be like, I can see your nipples. You're like, you're welcome. Okay. Right. Hello. It's the 90s. No, when we experienced Y2K, I remember my friend laughing or not laughing, but joking with me and being like, yeah, if your mom says that, you should be like, geez, mom, it's not the 90s anymore. It's the thousands. And I remember thinking that was just the funniest thing. Hey, Taylor, you brighten my weeks. Happy Tuesday. Always love hearing your thoughts. You've created such a warm audience. Hugs today and always. Hugs to you today and always, Taylor. You definitely are just just a little piece of sunshine here on earth that, like, legitimately, you are a pleasure to know. Leaf, dead serious. And here, I'm just passing out advice now, or compliments now. I do tend to, I mean, of course, nobody's infallible. Although I do treat some people like they are. But Leaf always has really, really good insights. But at the same time, like, I feel like they spend a lot of their time not taking themselves too seriously. And so it's, I love having Leaf around too. So if you guys can get to know them better, you'll be better off for it. In fact, I was just talking to somebody about that. I was talking to somebody about my Patreon and some people that we've gotten closer to over time. And I talked about Leaf and how they are able to talk about serious things, but otherwise they just crack me up. Mara Perez says, hello, I wanted to say that I love your personality and your VAP. I usually hear the playback at work. I'm so glad that some people decide to go back and watch. I feel bad for anybody that expects me just to dive into the topic or even to like stick to the topic, because for those of you who've been around, this is the 19th episode. What? Are you kidding me? But I feel bad because some people are like, I've been listening for half an hour and you're still not talking about it. It's like, sometimes like we might just touch on the topic that's in the thumbnail and title, and then like the rest is just us having a conversation. And it's just, some of these videos and some of these topics are just not for everyone. And I do want to say a couple of things, like a couple of disclaimers first. First of all, I want to give a content warning. Thank you, Jazz, for reminding me, because I'm terrible about these. If you haven't gathered from the title and the thumbnail, I do kind of want to talk about this whole situation around the wellness check that was called on Gabbie Hanna. And so with that in mind, we are going to be discussing things like suicide, but I will be trying to use the term unalive more often than not, or S word. In this case would mean that, but I'll try to say unalive. But of course, anything else super related to that. So probably like things like depression, ideations, and things like that. So keep in mind that with that as a content warning, there was something else. There were two more things that I wanted to say. Let me read what Brittany has to say. Spent all day editing a webinar for work and stayed late to see it export successfully. That's always nice when an export works nicely. That also allowed me to watch BAP on my way home. So Water Gang, awesome, yay! So reminded me of the two things. So I've said this on Twitter, and I I'm going to make this really, really super clear right now. And if people jump in later, I'm sure that my mods will help me remind people. I do not want to discuss at all. I don't want to discuss the ethics of wellness checks because if you're on Twitter, and I'm getting better at recognizing that not everybody's on Twitter, not everyone's following what I say on Twitter, but like I said, I'm in a better place than I was last week, but I'm still a bit fragile, is the best way to put it. And when this all happened, I had some really, in my opinion, important things that I wanted to say about this, but then I noticed that the conversation around this topic started to become a debate. And that's what, honestly, like what Twitter's for. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I do think that it can be toxic. I think it can put me in a bad headspace. I think it does that for a lot of people. But it is a decent place where people have debates over important topics. And I noticed that essentially the two people that were debating, or the two sides that were debating with each other were both, and I want people to keep this in mind because this happens sometimes, both people that are essentially on the same team when it comes to the broader topic of just like caring for Gabbie Hanna or anyone and wanting to do what's best in a situation, in a crisis situation. Agreeing that we don't want Gabbie Hanna to unalive, like things like that. We're all on that side. Moses just woke up from a nightmare. I don't know if you can hear. Oh, that's more or less what it sounds like. That's the part that makes me just a little bit sad. I think they're important conversations to have. And so I don't begrudge anyone for having them. I think it's important to exchange this information. Particularly, I saw a lot of people saying that that wellness checks, like the system is not optimal. And so it doesn't create the best experiences for a lot of people, for a good significant portion of people. And then you have other people that are like, okay, yeah, but what do we do when there's nothing else? So it's an important conversation to have, but it's not one that we're going to have on my channel. I'm more interested in talking about just kind of more or less how Gabbie Hanna, how she's handled this, and how her fans and her supporters and like people around her are talking about this issue. Might need to go early. We'll feel it out. Feeling okay, but topic is sensitive for me. Eden, thank you. I need to do like House Bunny. Eden. You have a fantastic name. Why did I forget it? So just in case there's some extra love. Well, if you do need to go, Eden, please, don't feel like you need to stay. I love having you here, but I don't want anyone to stick around if this topic is going to trigger anything in you. Like that, like you've heard so many creators say that, but like that would just, in a selfish way, that would make me feel awful about doing this. So, if you feel yourself getting there, then please, use your best discretion. Lola Bunny 85 says, I just had a wellness check on me. Been out of work since May due to an injury in May. Oh, I'm sorry. And someone keeps trying to take down my GoFundMe. I don't like how Gabbie Hanna handled it. Yeah, I don't either. That's a lot of I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that happened to you. I'm sorry that you've been out of work, and I'm sorry that somebody's trying to take down your GoFundMe, which I assume was created in good faith to help with the costs of your treatment. So I really hope that works out. I always have faith that those things do work out. Doesn't mean that it's not stressful in trying to make that happen. Gabbie Handle. Thank you, Anya. I hope I pronounced that right. The other thing that I want to mention, and I grapple with whether or not this is something that I'm going to have to defend, or do I just say fuck it and just do it? I've made jokes before about saying like, am I obsessed with Gabbie Hanna? Sure. Are we going to talk about her till the cow comes home? Sure. Cow comes home, till the cows come home. Ever since I made fun of her for that, I've noticed that I'm saying all of these euphemisms and idioms wrong. But simply put, I just want to say this with the utmost respect, because I know that there are people in my audience who like me, who respect me, who look forward to my content. I don't know why you like me that much, but thank you. At the same time, we're not always going to agree on what I should talk about. And so if this is just not the topic for you, then please, like, maybe like email me other ideas for things that we could talk about. It's just, I do want to take a moment to talk about this because it's come up a couple of times, and I don't like, patrons stop me if I'm saying too much. I am in a period where I'm really kind of self-reflecting a lot. Like last week did a number on me, and I'm really trying to handle that the best that I can. And in doing so, I am finding out things about myself that I thought were like common or normal or average that are not. And so I'm really in this kind of like weird space of trying to understand my brain. And one of my patrons, one of my mods, actually brought up to me that it could be, depending on whether or not, a certain thing is how my brain is wired. It might just be that this is a topic I hyper focus on for reasons that it interests me. And I will say that whether that is tied to any sort of like diagnosis or brain thing or whatever, I will say that when I talk about Gabbie Hanna, it is not because I expect Gabbie Hanna to like ever hear my messages. I've said that from the start, and I still believe that like she doesn't care to watch my videos or listen to what I have to say. For sure, her stands push certain messages to her. But it's these messages, these conversations that I have, I just think that there are so many conversations that come up about so many different topics, all because of this woman. And so it's almost like, could we take all of these different things and maybe have them happen with different creators so we could switch it up and talk about different creators when talking about certain things? Because, back in when I started my channel, even though it was more a history of scandals, but it was kind of like we had conversations around like sharing medical information of, of people that that have not given you permission to do so. We talked about that. We've talked about being a friend, how to handle conflict, there's an array of topics that we've talked about. And it just seems like with everything that Gabbie Hanna does, another topic comes up. And part of it is that you kind of get stuck in this like loop where, we continue talking about it because there's a lot to talk about. So, I do want things to calm down around her so that I can take a look at what else is going on outside of her online. That said, I'm going to be real with you. And this is not a matter of being like, I need the views and the money. But when I get the criticism that like, please stop talking about Gabbie Hanna, and then I talk about like a huge creator, Jeffree Star, James Charles, and the views are significantly less, like a fraction, it communicates to the creator, this is not what your audience wants. Your audience wants that other thing. And so please bear in mind that what works is a big factor in what in I think what any creator determines that they talk about. So I don't ever want to talk about something that isn't important to me. I don't ever want to talk about something that I'm not interested in. And this is what I'm interested in right now. Moonchild says, hi, I just want your attention and wanted to say you look bad. And I enjoy how your mind works. Okay, bye. I love you. You're the sweetest. You're the cutest thing in the world. And thank you for the donation. So there was something else I was going to say on that topic. It's not a slight at anyone, that if somebody suggests, like, "Please, I'd like for you to move on," and I'm not talking about anybody in the room specifically. I will say that I saw some comments on somebody else's video that were sent to me in a screenshot. Like, this is just, like, stuff that's on the internet that I don't think has to do with anyone here. Um, but things like and I wanna talk about this, so I hope you guys give me a moment. Um, the mindset or the opinion, I've heard the opinion that Hello Leash can't take criticism. And of course, most people are gonna be like, "That's not true of me." So of course I think that's not true of me, but of course, like, the general public is gonna know better than I do. The thing is, the only example that was given, I saw one person asking, like, "Well, then what's your criticism? What is the thing um, that you think that, Hello Leash needs to work on?" And the only thing that particular person, I hope that that person is, like, not listening and getting their feelings hurt, because I'm not trying to do that. This is a sentiment that apparently comes up, and um, the way this person talked, it sounds like there are various people who have this opinion. But if your criticism is something, I'm trying to think of, like, the things that people have talked to me about, and I'll just be straightforward with you guys about things that I haven't, like, addressed publicly. But it wasn't long ago, that Liza Koshy posted like a happy birthday post with her friend Jenna. And the way that it was worded sounded very much like wishing happy birthday to my partner, romantic partner. And then Liza went back and, like, changed all that. And I was frustrated with that, and I referred to it as queer baiting. I received an email from one of my well-meaning, lovely viewers who explained that by admonishing somebody for doing what looks like queer baiting, it very well could be that, but I could be damaging a person's comfortability with the idea of coming out if that is something that they're struggling with. And so I thanked them. I thanked them for, I took down that tweet. I hope I took down the tweet. But I did thank them, and it changed how I thought about that. Another person reached out to me and said, "Hey, like, I like your video about creepshow art. I just think that the title's a little insensitive. The title doesn't give credit to the people who really are victims in this case. Can you consider changing your title?" And I don't just, like, stop and go, like, "Oh, okay, everybody's right, I'm wrong." But I took, like, probably a good, like, 12 to 24 hours to think about it, and I was like, "No, that's the right thing to do. This person was right," and I changed it. Um, Say Jack Hanna, Victoria Malcolm. And there have been, and in terms of constructive criticism, of course, when you're talking about, like, my set, that stuff is easier. Like, I don't know if you're in the room, but somebody helped me in saying, like, most of your set is it looks good. Just try to keep everything behind you, like, muted colors, so that what stands out is your dark hair and your mic. So I was like, oh, that's super helpful. Rochelle, I love him. I don't know that he hangs around as much. He's got a lot going on. But in the early stages, he asked me. He was like, the when you put something on the screen in your videos, it's not in terms of an accessibility feature, or just people who are not, like, actively watching the screen. It would be helpful if you made, like, a little sound. And so I started implementing that. And then other people brought to my attention that, like, hey, when you flash text on the screen, or, like, text messages and stuff like that, to those who are not watching the screen or who can't see the screen, then it is helpful to read those things. So that's a few examples, and they're kind of all over the place. And there's even no, I need to give this example too, because I do think it's important to consider criticism that does speak to uh, I don't know if character is the right word, but really challenges your beliefs in your core. Um, some I don't think that I want to get into the details, but some people, some of my patrons have reached out to me in DMs regarding certain conflicts that have happened here and there, and have explained things to me and kind of challenged my way of going about things. And I've thanked those people, and I'm now thinking about things differently. And this is in no way for me to be like, listen to all the things I do and I do them so well. No, the point is that you, for one, everybody's not going to see every criticism that I get and what I take. If there is something resounding, if I wake up, and this has happened twice, I don't want to talk about it here. I've addressed it a few times, but it's happened twice where I've woken up and I go, oh no, 3 times. If we're talking about Eye Roll Gate, I will reference that. The Eye Roll Fiasco. There have been about 3 times where I've woken up to be like, oh my God, such bad. No, 4 times. Because also I was too forgiving of Shane Dawson at first when he was canceled. So there's been a handful of times where I've woken up. Oh my God, please. Savannah's the worst with car sounds. Where I've woken up and I see that there is just resounding feedback that is all along the same lines. And that is something that I have had to stop and say, okay, if a lot of people are saying this, there has to be some validity to it. The Mikey thing, I don't know. Like, I still kind of like stick to my guns on certain aspects of that. And I do recognize, like, when I see that the like to dislike ratio on my video is at like 67%, then, maybe there's something that I'm not considering. And so I do take those things into consideration. And if you're in these conversations with me, if you come to BAP, if you talk to me in DMs, my email's open. If you email me, I sound like Jimmy Snow. Ugh. Sorry. If you're a patron and you reach out to me, hopefully you see that. I know some past patrons don't believe that of me, and also haven't seen the changes that I've decided to make. So that's all I don't know. That's all just my argument to say that, like, I really am trying my best to take criticism in moments that I feel like I need it, and when I don't think that I need it. I do try to remain open to it, but I want people to keep in mind that your criticism may be an opinion that other people disagree with. And if that is the case, then the person that you're offering a criticism to has every right to say, thank you, I disagree with this though. So, and I try to do this with unless you're like being mean to me, I try to be like, thank you for your feedback. I'll keep that in mind. But for now, I'm going to move forward with this decision that I've made. So these comments on some videos or whatever that were sent to me essentially said, the only criticism when they were pressed, what's the criticism you gave? It was just, I said that she should stop talking about Gabbie Hanna, that it's unhealthy. I'm going to take a pause because Audrey said something. I think people forget that queer baiting is generally applied to fictional characters depicted in different forms of entertainment. Thank you. That's another point too, that somebody pointed out to me that I didn't know about. So thank you. You guys teach me a lot. But going back to this whole, like, giving a criticism, it's one thing to give a criticism like, hey, the way you worded this thing was insensitive and it's not how we talk about these things. Then it's like, oh, thank you. Like, I need to know these things. But if it's an opinion, like, you should stop talking about this topic, especially if I have, for every one person that says stop talking about this topic, I have 5 of my viewers who are like, please don't stop talking about this. And you have to consider that this is an opinion that isn't necessarily the one right opinion. Sometimes I think that for the most part, there is a one right opinion, right? So, as an example, going on your platform and calling people sick fucking twisted bitches. Like, that is just about unequivocally wrong. And most people would agree wrong, right? But other things sometimes are just opinions. And we need to know that not everybody's going to take our opinions. That doesn't mean don't express them. I think that it's great to express them, and at least, especially if you're dealing with a creator or a person who is receptive to criticism, whether they take that opinion and advice or not, at least we can think about the things that you that are concerning you. So I hope that is something that I don't know that any of you needed to hear, but is definitely something that I wanted to get off my chest, because I go through various periods where it's like, fuck it, this is the Gabbie show now. Don't care what anybody has to say. I can talk about whatever I want. And it's true. And I said this about Jesse, and this is true about me and any content creator. You have every right in the world to not want me to talk about this. But at that point, it is your responsibility to not watch the content if that upsets you. I don't think there's anything wrong with dropping the comment like, hey, I'm kind of over the Gabbie stuff. It does give me important feedback to let me know. But at the end of the day, if this is a topic I shouldn't be talking about, then my audience is going to dwindle away, and I am going to reap the consequences directly for criticism that I should have taken, that I didn't, if that makes sense. So don't hold back in giving the criticism, but do keep in mind that our opinions are not always the one right opinion. I'm trying to find a way to put this on my lap comfortably, but my laptop is hot. There, that might be a little bit better. So, Nom de Plume says, Eye Roll Gate, I must have missed something if you want to know. Early on my channel, I did a series of videos, and I understand, like, I kept going with it. In my opinion, I love having conversations and like getting super granular with them, and then like having discussions in the comments, and then like that bringing up more what I think are more conversations, and like, let's talk about this. And so it started off with the whole Trisha Paytas and Dissociated stuff. But my opinion was, regardless of those two people or that system and that person, regardless of them, I think that Anthony and Mikey. Should I open a window and ask them to stop? That's so rude. That's a Mikey fan out there. But essentially, what I wanted to say was that I don't believe that. Can you guys hear me fine, at least if I talk into the mic? Do you guys want me to go open my window and say that I'm recording? Okay, it's not that loud. Thank you. I can't tell because, of course, I'm speaking into a mic, and so I don't know like how much you guys hear this bullshit that is distracting me. Oh, good. Some of you can't even hear anything. Thank you, all you people who are letting me know I'm good. For those of you who don't know about Eye Roll Gate, my opinion was, I wanted to direct an opinion towards Mikey and Anthony. It's not that I agreed or disagreed with any of those other people. It's that I disagreed with them as mental health advocates. The way they handled that situation really rubbed me wrong. It was Anthony with the whole like move to trash. It was Mikey with the eye roll and all of that. And I talked about it on my channel, and it was hot. The topic was hot. It did garner some attention. I got some support, and I got a lot of criticism for it. But basically it got to the point where people were like, shut up about the eye roll. We're so tired of hearing you talk about this eye roll. Which very well may have been a very valid criticism, regardless of what I'm about to tell you. I did stop talking about it. I changed subjects. In fact, I posted a video shortly thereafter where I was crying, and I said that I'm going to be listening to criticism more. And then cut to 6 months, Spanky V posts a video in which she exposes a lot about Mikey, that kind of explain a lot of people's weird or undecided feelings about Mikey, and kind of confirmed the impression I got that this person was not that great of a social justice warrior, was not that great of a mental health advocate. And I had a lot of people reach out to me and say like, hey, I was one of the people who was critical at that time, and you were onto something. So that wasn't meant to toot my own horn. Somebody just asked about it, but beep the fucking beep, if you know what I mean. Alexis Wing says the conversations that spawn from the topic of Gabbie Hanna are important. Some of us don't get this level of female-driven discourse elsewhere. Critics just read the thumbnail and think it's 100% Gabbie Hanna. Thank you. I thank you for saying it, for putting it in those words. And I always appreciate when people are able to word these in different ways, because then it speaks to different people in different ways. This is more about the conversations about the topics. It's not about trying to change Gabbie Hanna. There are so many people who matter to me more that I'd rather, see change and growth in, frankly. I do want to see change and growth in her because of the fact that she, one, is a human being, and two, is responsible for a very large platform. I was going to say a platform that's like dwindling in size because she's losing fans, but her platform is still huge because she has so many eyes on her. And it's easy to say, like, stop giving her the attention, but like, that's just not going to happen. Human beings just don't work that way. If there is something strange or concerning going on, people are going to talk about it. And I do believe this. If we stop giving Gabbie Hanna like attention for whatever reason, because of her, her kooky antics or the things that she's trying to do to get at us, she's just going to act in ways that are worse. And I do think that that's what's been happening. It's because every time we want to step away from talking about her, she does something more and more and more concerning in order to get our attention. So I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that like, stop giving her attention. It's what she wants. She doesn't want to be criticized. She does not. She does not want to be criticized. The kind of messages I put out in my videos, I can say for 99% positive, she does not want to hear what I have to say. No Name says, hearing Leash raise her voice when the background noise goes up is so funny. It's so difficult. When you're on a phone conversation and then you start hearing the feedback from the other person's end and you hear yourself. And so like it stops you and you can't get your words out. It's like, it's kind of like that. It's really hard for me to like maintain my train of thought and speak at a normal, and I don't know what a normal volume is because I'm speaking into a mic. So yeah. So that was something important that I wanted to talk about in terms of just talking about Gabbie Hanna. And also in full transparency with you guys, I was going to break it up a little bit and talk about Jimmy Snow, and I fucked up and I made a Twitter thread in which I wanted to make a point that I think was completely a valid and well-intentioned point, but I went about it so wrong. And I just felt like it wouldn't be smart of me to insert myself into that conversation after that had happened. So you almost had a break from it, but I fucked up. So now here we are. But also that was also at the time that I needed to just take a break. So it all worked out. So I'm going to hashtag Water Gang myself. I'm sure that somebody, Alicia did a whoops. Alicia did not mean anything negative whatsoever at all. So, but that doesn't mean that we handle everything properly. There's intention and there's impact. So yeah, we all do a whoop sometimes. And quite frankly, what the way that this played out, I think there were a lot of people who understood where I was coming from and didn't believe that there was a whoops at all. And particularly a lot of the people from the community that some people believe I spoke insensitively about, or it was more like the implications. It was like if you read between the lines, or like certain things that seem like implications of what I was saying, that was more kind of, I think, like what I shouldn't get all into it. We kind of talked about it last week. They're gonna do it again with the weed whackers or whatever's out there. I hate it. But things sound different to different people. And there's no way that I'm going to please everybody with what I say. But again, going back to that concept of resounding criticism, if you hear criticism and it's big enough and you have multiple people expressing this opinion, and then considering the sensitivity of the topic, you really have to listen to that. You really have to listen to it. And even if it's not something you understand right away, or it's not something that you think you did any harm, you really have to reconsider that. So that's that on that. And then again, like I said earlier, I do want to talk about this issue around Gabbie Hanna and the wellness check, and then her response. And I have them on my phone, kind of like the posts leading up to this wellness check, and then as well as how Gabbie responded and how the people around Gabbie are responding to it. And that to me is the most disparaging part of all this. I don't know if I kind of want to let you guys speak more and I just respond to that, because I will be talking about this in a video. So you guys are going to hear my thoughts on all of this. But at the same time, that's sometimes what we do in BAP, where I tell you guys in a very like messy way what I think, and then I kind of clean it up in a video. And you guys don't really complain about that, and I don't deserve you for that. So thank you for allowing me to talk about the same things in my videos that I talk about in BAP, frankly. I haven't pulled up my email. I know that somebody said I've started to put less emphasis on reading emails or giving people the expectation that I'm going to read emails, because it started to get to a point where there was so much conversation happening in Patreon and super chats, but really super chats sometimes, that like I've said to you guys before, like I feel like I would be a dick for somebody to send me money and for me not to read their comment, unless that comment is a troll comment. So when that happens, that can take up the entire 2 hours. And so I unfortunately like can't read emails sometimes. So I'm not going to assume that anybody knows what happened. So let's not keep in mind, however many times you #watergang us, the more we're going to have to pee. And a lot of you guys can take your phone or your laptop into the bathroom and pee, and I can't or shouldn't. Bathroom is right there. I mean, I could point the camera over there. So let me just kind of summarize what I know. I mean, I'm sure there's more details to this, but let me pull up these screenshots. So Gabbie Hanna posted to her Patreon a couple of things. The primary one that was concerning, I think you guys can see here, it was this like this white text on black post that says, "Struggling to find a reason to be alive today." To be alive, comma, today, period, no space. Sorry, that shit bothers me. Struggling to find a reason to be alive today. My family would miss me, but I rarely see them anyway. My will would have a greater impact on ... because this person who took the screenshot is not a patron, and I'm not either. This, I think, was sent to me by somebody who was a patron, or this patron shared the post. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this post, but also at that same time, she posted something. Oh, no. Okay. No, this is after the fact. Okay. So keeping that in mind, as well as the video that she posted after she said she was leaving the internet, she came back, she posted a video. I don't think she was trying to hide the fact that she was copying Cher Lloyd with the title of Cher Lloyd's album and then the whole being in the bathtub thing. And I'm going to be real, like, if it weren't Gabbie Hanna, I would have found that video to be like actually kind of like fun and creative. But she ended up copying somebody, and the most concerning part of that being the title card at the beginning. I am all kinds of pissed at YouTube that is actually still up. And so essentially, if you haven't seen that, then I'm trying to find the right way to say it. Gabbie Hanna posted this video in which she's like singing in the bathtub, but there's a title card that says hypomanic and S word, unaliveable, to describe somebody who would like to take their own lives. And so it is, I mean, we don't know who called the wellness check on Gabbie Hanna. But I think it's safe to assume that there's a good chance that somebody was concerned enough about her because of that and because of what she's posting on Patreon, about just not wanting to go on. And she let us know that happened in a Twitter post. In case you haven't seen it, there's a picture of her smiling with the thumbs up in her bathroom, and it says, "The police just came for a wellness check, and I answered the door stoned, covered in paint, and wearing only my underwear and a 'make sure your friends are okay' t-shirt. I can't believe they didn't take me away." Which obviously that last bit is sarcasm, which is funny because she was lectured about tone indicators, but I don't always use them, so I'm not one to speak. And also I have a tendency to take things literally, especially if it's a serious situation. If it's a serious situation, if you're going to talk to me, mean exactly what you say. Don't speak in hyperbole. Don't speak in sarcasm. Don't even pull that shit with me if we're having a serious conversation. So when I saw that, I was just like, does she really not believe that they didn't take her away? Because she sure has given us reason to believe that she could be a danger to herself. So I don't know all the ins and outs of this stuff. I know that if you take somebody to the emergency room and you say, "Hey, this person has expressed to me that they are a danger to themselves or others," most of the time they are going to keep you there typically on a 72-hour psychiatric hold. So, thank you, Mackenzie, for giving me a break from my own train of thought. Mackenzie says, "Please help. I sent a DM to you on Twitter to attempt to surprise my daughter. Sent on Twitter because I use her YouTube Red to avoid ads. LOL." I don't know. To be honest with you, I have so many unread DMs. Because you sent money, I would love to. I wish honestly that you would have. I would love to give that surprise to your daughter. I just my DMs are just a pool of darkness right now. Not to say that the contents are dark, but just I don't know what's there, and there's years worth of DMs there that I haven't looked into. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry I haven't seen that, whatever it was. I will say that if it ever comes up again that you want to send a super chat, feel free to let me know what you want me to say to your daughter. As long as it's nothing offensive, I'd be happy to say it. Um, so I was just saying, I see a lot of my wrenches talking. So when that happens, I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Hey, friends, what are you talking about? Um, so, and also if we can avoid, yep, I was just about to say, if we can avoid adding me on Patreon unless it's serious, I would prefer that, just because every time I see a notification on Patreon, I think, oh God, I'm in trouble. And it takes a while for some reason on this laptop to switch over and get to that. And then, of course, I kind of have to stop what I'm doing here. However, Audie did give us more context to the posts. So, thank you. And that did kind of help me get back on track. So, yeah, I see that there's another donation from Peapot Fairy. Hi. I'm behind on the video, but I gave you criticism on your video about Shane Dawson. We had a back and forth in the comments, and you made an updated video the next day. Thank you for sharing that. I don't want to assume that you're expressing gratitude for that or praise for it, but you are simply stating that, like, hey, I did listen. I listened to what people had to say. In fact, there was one person, it's embarrassing because I find myself doing the very things that I think as a platform owner, maybe I shouldn't be doing. There was one person who criticized me. I don't know if this is the same person. Let me know if it's the same person. I don't know if it's you. There's somebody who said specifically that I was way too, I think the word that she used was light-handed, I think. Way too light-handed with Shane Dawson on the topic of racism. And um, I I think I didn't understand the actual gravity of the things that he had said and done. So it took me having to go back to the drawing board and really do a little more research before we talk about this. I was really more just speaking to his apology. Um, and there was one person in particular that I saw her username and then I wanted to speak to her directly. So I looked on Instagram and I DM'd her there. And I think she was a little taken aback that that this creator would just go and reach out to her on Instagram. But I did want to understand, what is the criticism? Is there any way you can explain this to me in a way that I can understand? And I don't know if that's you, but if it was more than one person, then it was more than one person. But there was one person and she was not happy with me in the beginning. And I probably wasn't too happy with her either. And I love when this happens, when somebody and I can start in a conversation that's a little bit combative or contentious in the beginning, but we actually talk through it. That means that we're using our prefrontal cortexes and able to actually empathize with each other and hear each other and understand the other's points. And this person really did just a fantastic job of just kind of very succinctly telling me where I got it wrong. And yes, that prompted me to go, like I said, go back to the drawing board in conjunction with some of the other things that people were saying. Thank you for bringing that up. I have no idea what I was talking about before that. I'd like to remember. Meeg says every convo we have, is that you and me? Yeah, and of course, I was going to say my patrons are pretty, especially my longtime patrons, are very honest with me about where they think that I'm wrong about things, and it's very common. I understand the people who are like, well, of course, your patrons and your followers and your supporters and are going to agree with you, and to some extent, yeah, that's true. But I do think that I've found some people and I've gotten close to them in such a way that I have more of a friendship with them. And a lot of them are not afraid to tell me when I am wrong. So, so one thing, so Gabbie Hanna posted this picture to Twitter and was just like, haha, can't believe that they didn't take me away. And I'm concerned because and this is just maybe I need to read up on the laws, and I'm sure it varies state by state, but I'm concerned because at what point is a psychiatric hold, at what point is it required? Because Gabbie Hanna has told us in more than just with that video, with these Patreon posts, with the way I really didn't love the way that this was a year ago, of course, the way that she just like casually threw that into conversation with Jesse Smiles. I think that's a really irresponsible thing to do. In fact, I would go so far as to call it emotional abuse and manipulation to do so. And it almost, her behavior in the wake of all of these things almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've had, Meegs, I love and appreciate your honesty and willingness to listen to criticism, Leash. I love you. I just love everything about you, Meegs. Thank you. I love how much you care. I really do. These days I need to just be able to look at the camera and be like, I lost my train of thought. Where was I? Yeah, I was saying that feel free to correct me if I'm wrong or if I'm missing something. Oops, I need to turn that off. My mom is constantly texting me. I think one of the questions a lot of us have had, and it's a really sensitive thing, and so a lot of us don't want to outright say the thing that we might suspect that could be dangerous if we're wrong about. Somebody put a pin in that for me in case I forget. The things that we suspect but could be wrong about. Perfect way to end a really terrible day, says Brandy Rose. So happy to get to spend time with the sweetest community on the internet. Really needed this today. Love you guys. Leash, you look stunning as always. Thank you. It makes me so happy that so many of you just enjoy being around these people like I do. Even when I'm not feeling the best, when I take the time to do these, it really is. It's so helpful for me, and it helps me feel connected. It helps to ground me to hear what you guys have to say. So I do appreciate that for what you guys do to me too. Do for me. But in terms of the things that we suspected might be happening, and I'm just going to speak very clearly, I think, and very directly. I think as we were seeing and hearing certain messages, and not even necessarily just the messages, but just some of the behavior. The other thing too was her saying in the video regarding things that Trisha Paytas had said, Gabbie said, I have to make music videos or else there's no reason for me to be alive. And then there's also the reference to 13 Reasons Why. There's so many signs that Gabbie has dropped for us that look very intentional. And to say that they're very intentional does not mean that they're not valid, because a cry for help is a thing. D says psych holds are the judgment of wow. Psych holds are the judgment of the clinician, requires imminent danger, you're taking away freedom. Threshold is high if clinician is responsible. In case if that's speaking to like why they didn't take her away, that helps. Thank you. And kind of understanding it. Just when somebody continually tells you that they are considering this, I don't want to get into the ethics of it. I just want to talk about how serious it is. And like I said, there are all these like breadcrumbs and then also just like overt statements that she's made that have made people worry. And this is such a multifaceted conversation, and I've already wasted an hour. But it's caused a lot of people to be concerned. And I would venture to say people on both sides of the coin, whether you are whether you dislike Gabbie or you like Gabbie, or even, those who are kind of apathetic. I just, a lot of people have been concerned, and sadly, I wonder if her supporters are just not as concerned as other people are, which is a weird thing, but it's definitely a possibility, and I think is something that's very much been happening. And so, oh, Dee also says, I totally agree. It's serious. Her friends and family should step in. I was just speaking to Psych Hold ethics as a clinician, but I agree with you. Oh, no, thank you. No, I appreciated you kind of bringing that to the conversation, because it is something to keep in mind, because I'm like, oh, like, if the threshold is really high for actually having to take somebody's freedom away, then maybe they didn't have enough to work with. So, excuse me. And then I know that this is not, I know that generally people are not a fan of Katie Morton, and I need to go back and research again why. What are the things that she's done that were like not great? But she did explain when it came to the Jacqueline Glenn and Eugenia Cooney conversation, where Jacqueline really kind of bombarded Eugenia Cooney with a wellness check and a psychiatric hold. Put a pin in that. Taylor says, I found your channel months after losing my little sis to opioid poisoning. I'm so sorry. Your channel has provided such a safe space for me, and so many. You alone created this space. Thank you. You do great things. I love you. I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think that I alone created this. I think people like you did. And then I'm really sad to hear that about your sister, and I'm sorry. And it explains to me why you always reference my brother and how proud you think he is of me. So I appreciate all those reminders. And I see you popping off on YouTube. If you guys don't know about Taylor, she's just a really, if you like just listening to smart people analyze situations, I love that shit. Check out Taylor's videos. Taylor, you need to pump out some more videos now, because I've already binged your videos and I have nothing else. So please get on it. Yeah, we love Taylor around here. We love to find creators in our spaces that think along the same lines, and that are analytical and critical in the ways that we are. And I want to make sure that as we're finding these smaller channels, that we're really lifting them up. As an aside, so I was mentioning the whole kind of the ambush that happened to Eugenia Cooney, whether or not, I do believe that those friends were doing all they thought they could do. But that's neither here nor there with the point I'm about to make. But in that story, if you got all the details about the conversations between Jacqueline and Katie, in how to make this work, it made a lot of sense as to how these wellness checks, unfortunately, just there's a catch-22 in many cases that just prevent these from being effective. Even if we're not talking about certain dangers, like I said, the ethics of it all, but just because it's kind of you can't. It's one of I'm trying so hard to remember correctly, but it was there's you can call the police and so they can be the first to show up, but then they're not qualified to make decisions that are of a psychiatric nature. And so you need a clinician to make those decisions. But a clinician doesn't have the right to just show up and evaluate you, take you away, or anything like that. So the police have the ability to do that, but they don't have the ability to know if they should do that. Then clinicians have the ability to know if that should happen, but they don't have the ability to make it happen. And so I think Dee, I believe your name is, who gave a couple of super chats and explained a lot of things to me. I think you mentioned some psychiatric crisis teams or something like that. I really hope that our system gets better at integrating those two things and handling those situations better. At the very least, if we've identified this problem with like the police can only do this so much and clinicians can only do this so much, can we please come up with a system that like marries these two things so that we can leverage the strengths and the abilities of each side so that people can actually get real help. It looks like the way that they handled it with Eugenia, they were able to, I think, have both law enforcement as well as a clinician present to make that decision. And of course, from there, Eugenia went to rehab, and afterwards seemed like she was doing really well in the Shane Dawson series. But at the time, I remember thinking that, like, Shane, you're making this way too soon. I can only speak for substance abuse, addiction, and rehab, but I wouldn't want to talk to somebody a month out of rehab to see how they're doing. So publicly, because it's such a volatile and fragile time. So that kind of went off on a tangent, but so in terms of how she handled it, she of course posted that picture, which seemed to me to be a kind of like taunting the audience or whoever might have been concerned or whoever made that call. It'd be one thing if she's like, thanks for being concerned about me, guys. I'm doing okay. Ironically, I was wearing this t-shirt and I was doing something very therapeutic. So, thank you for caring, but there's no need to be worried. Let me see. Gaia says, attorney here. I'm not licensed in California, but in my practice in Illinois and Iowa, police can choose to take someone to a mental health facility. Yes, I believe that's the case in most, like, with wellness, or else what's the point of a wellness check? I don't know. I only know so much. As far as I know, yes, they are able to take people away. But what I'm saying is that, are they qualified to make the decision to know whether or not, like Dee said earlier, to know whether or not a person's state really warrants taking their freedom away? Again, now we're getting into the ethics of wellness checks, and that's, again, I said, not a conversation I don't want to have. So I want to move away from that. Thank you for that input, though. I'm going to read this one more. The Psychiatric Hold from Dee says is a court order that requires evaluation by a clinician. The police can bring you, but they can't hold without court order. All very interesting information about just kind of how that works. So I guess it's not really arguing the ethics of it, but thank you guys who do know more about this stuff for providing information to me and my audience about how these things work. I guess it's not really the point. I think there's so many questions that pop up. It's, who made this call, for one. I think a lot of people are just saying, like, Gabbie included, that, oh, it was a troll that doxed her. Like, calm down. Let me return to that in a second. Gaia says, for psychiatric review and examination, upon receiving a mental health call, conducting a welfare check. Now, that doesn't mean that the facility will. Oh, looks like another one is coming. I may have to pull up my supers tab so that I can read all of your messages at once. Lost my train of thought again. I'm so sorry. I'm seeing a lot of people. So she said that, Gaia, I'm going to hold off on reading your messages for a little while and maybe if you can just like let us know when you're done. That way I can go back and read all of them because I'd like to read them all together. But some of the responses from Gabbie Hanna. So this one was the Patreon post that was, let me see. I don't want to miss this. Dee says, sorry, I got super pedantic. No, don't apologize. Thanks for creating this space. Y'all are wonderful, and it's a distraction from my job stress. I'm so happy that we can do that. No, I so appreciate the education from people who want to educate me and my audience. So I so appreciate it. I don't think you have anything to apologize for at all. But the response from excuse me, from Gabbie and a lot of her fans, obviously, and her supporters within the the YouTube sphere, like the creators that support her, the sentiments are very much the same. Time out. I just noticed something. I don't know if all of you know. Oh, I can't reach it. Patrons, I told you guys that I'm making this really beautiful green dress that is like super fancy, and then I wanted to get this really like ostentatious crown to wear with it. And as you can see right there, right there, I bought it. Water Gang. You can absolutely. Thank you for the donation. We can absolutely Water Gang. It's hashtag Water Gang, but because you paid $5, I am obligated. Probably you thought this is a good time to Water Gang because she's coughing. Thank you. So let me just read this Patreon post that was, I guess, leaked. She says, OMG, LMAO. That's the title. And it says, I was downstairs getting a snack and I heard a woman talking on the radio. I couldn't figure out where it was coming from, and I realized that the doorbell was ringing. It was the police doing a wellness check. Scared the fucking shit out of me. I answered the door stoned, covered in paint, and wearing only my underwear and a make sure your friends are okay shirt. Ha 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 ha. The sweet bitter irony. But jokes aside, I am okay. The sad reality is it was probably a troll fucking with me over a person genuinely concerned. I'll tell you what I told them. I'm an artist and I post some dark shit sometimes. Thankfully, I have art to help me express that in a way that keeps me from doing the things I write about. No. First of all, and of course, we've got people in the audience who just know more about this than I do, and than most of us know about this stuff. But how does she know that it's likely a troll? And here's the reason I don't believe that it was likely a troll. Is because since all of these antics started, I myself have been concerned. I have received DMs from people who don't support her behavior and who are concerned. Ironically, and this really pisses me off, I know that there's at least one Gabbie stan out there, and I'm not saying that you are necessarily one of the people that say these things, but perhaps you can help spread this message to your friends if you are receptive of it, or if you are one of those people who thinks, haha, it's a troll or whatever, then this is for you. But it pisses me off that a person, a creator with a large platform can behave in ways that not only concern us that she may want to unalive, but in some of these cases, she overtly tells us that. And by the way, like the shit that she said here in this little Patreon post, or even that little card, that's not art. The way that she wrote it was artistic. It was cute, whatever. That part of it is not art. And what she said to Jesse Smiles on the phone was not art. And the way that she addressed the camera when she said, no, I need to make music videos because there's no other reason for me to live. That's not art. Sure, you can write songs that talk about your deepest feelings. You need to draw that line. You really seriously need to draw that line so that your audience, particularly children, and adults who are concerned about you, but you really need to draw that line between this is a piece of art. This is something that I was going through in the past. I am not going through it now. I have worked through this. Maybe somebody can relate to it. This is how I'm feeling right now. And she has not made that distinction for us. What pisses me off is that out of the people that have expressed concern, oh, good night, Blue, love you. the people that have shown concern that I've seen are people who don't agree with Gabbie's behavior. And what a concept. Like it's one thing to say like, oh, Gabbie Hanna's audience is a bunch of kids. They don't understand that you can hold two thoughts in your head at once, which like they can't. Gaia says, I'm done now. Thanks. Okay. I'll pull up your super chats if I can find them. I know Sajak gets frustrated with me because I don't do a good job at finding these. Let me talk about the irresponsibility of putting out these messages and not distinguishing. I wanted to talk about the people who are expressing concern. I'm trying to like verbally put pins in things. It looks like oh, no. Okay. Okay, let me just read all of Gaia's message at once. Attorney here. I'm not licensed in California. I practice in Illinois and Iowa. Police can choose to take someone away. Psychiatric review and examination upon receiving a mental health call / conducting a welfare check. Now, that doesn't mean that the facility will involuntarily commit the person. A lot of mental health statutes are very hard to hold. I think it says hold someone because you are taking away someone's liberty. Yeah, thank you for that information. And it's such it's another one of those catch-22s, right? Well, I mean, it's the same catch-22 that I was just talking about. It's just like, you don't want to take away somebody's liberty, but you also want to be sure that they are not a danger to themselves or others. And we do take some people's liberty away. So it's like one of those things where, keep in mind, I'm a judger. So I'm more like, not that this is a justice thing. Maybe it is a little bit. But if somebody overtly says, I want to unalive myself, I want to cause harm to someone else, then in my opinion, at that point, you need to have your liberty taken away, at least for a little bit, because you're posing a threat to society, and we really need to get a handle on prevention. We don't want to wait until somebody has actually harmed themselves or others before we go, let's do something about this, because then you can't. The most you can do is, if it happened to somebody else, then you can put this person in jail. So that's all the weeds I don't want to get into. So what I was saying was that I genuinely don't think that most of these fans, or at least the vocal ones that I've seen online, understand that many of us can dislike Gabbie on a very high level. That does not mean that we don't care about the prospect of her potentially taking her own life. And I find it offensive to imply that anybody who might send help or want to send help or show concern or anything along those lines, just because they don't like you, they're a troll. I take offense to that, because I am one of the people who has been critical of her behavior lately, but also concerned by the behavior. And I've also thought, do I send a welfare or a wellness check on her? I don't have her address. I have her phone number, but also how many other people are thinking the same thing that are maybe closer to her that can have this done? We don't know who did this. Could have been Peyton. It could have been Irene. It could have been a family member. It could have been somebody that she knows that we don't. And I don't think it's fair of her to say it was just a troll. Something I was saying earlier, I'm going to go back to her saying that it was just a troll. D says, ideation versus intent. We need people to be able to talk about their feelings without worrying they'll be committed. That's part of why it's high, because if they fear talking, they'll just act. I agree. I mean, I've had my moments, and I think a lot of us have. I do think that we still all bear a certain responsibility, and I think that it is super important for us to make that distinction, to really make that distinction. are these thoughts that I'm having? Are these intrusive thoughts or just thoughts that I need to get out that perhaps it would help to get them out? Or is this something that I'm intending to do? And I think that's really important because um, what oh god, now I got to go back to I've got a super chat I need to read, and then I got a point that I forgot to make earlier and a point that I want to make. So let me read the super chat from Gaia. I lost you, Gaia. Just wanted to cap with Leash. You are saying the things mental health attorneys talk about hours on end in hearings. It's the great debate that has no answer. Unfortunately, love you and your channel. Thank you for that. And that's funny, and it makes perfect sense to me. So I don't know if I'm even going to remember both of the points that I was going to make. But one thing I was saying earlier is that I think that the audience, the greater audience, not her fans necessarily, has been wondering, is this person seriously in danger, or is this person psychologically abusing us by baiting? I'm just going to use that word, by baiting us with this. And I very much believe that that is emotional and psychological abuse if you use out of people. And I don't think many people will disagree with me that if you're doing that, I'm not saying Gabbie was doing that, but if you're doing that, it waters down the severity of actual cries for help. And just like Gabbie's been doing with a lot of things. And so to just say it, to just tell people in 3, 4, 5 instances that I am this way. You're a mental health professional, Dee, so I'm not going to try to speak over you. So you can correct me, you can confirm what I'm saying or whatever it is. But there's a difference between being, I have to say the word, being suicidal and having suicidal ideations. And she has overtly told us that she is suicidal. And that's a distinction that I think is really important to me, because then the question is, are you or are you not? And if you're not, why are you telling us that you are? What's the end game? What are you trying to get at? Z says, I just want to say I love you and your content so much. Thank you. It's a big comfort to me. And I love how you explain your ideas and opinions. You're a beautiful person, a beautiful soul. You're pulling a nail. You're trying to make me cry. Thank you so much for that, Z. Thank you. I'm glad that I remembered this point that I was trying to make earlier, though I'm sure I forgot another one that I was going to make. But so I think what's happening now is we're now starting to, I think, lean more towards, okay, we've been baited. And it's one of those things that you can't, people do bait us with this stuff, but you have to treat it like it's the real thing every time. You have to. I've been in this situation a couple of times since I started my YouTube channel, where I believed that people were using these words as manipulation tactics against me. It's been confirmed at least once that happened, but I have to treat it like the real thing every time. And that is so much to put somebody through if it's bullshit. So Dee says, I think Gabbie is too vague for me to make that judgment without a conversation with her. I do think it's blurry with her at times. I agree that at times it is. I think that if you write on a card, again, I have to say the word suicidal, or telling Jesse, I'm fucking suicidal. To me, that's pretty clear. But you're right. Well, the whole, I don't have any reason to be alive if I'm not making music, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I agree. That stuff is blurry. It's unclear. And I can totally understand if police show up and they're like, oh, this is the thing you said. You said that, you don't know if, if there's a point to life or blah, blah, blah. If it's vague like that, I can totally understand why that would be not clear enough. But the fact that she's just and somebody also pointed out, I don't know how much it matters, but her pen is also in her hand as she's posting this cheeky picture. Kat says maybe she's in love with the idea of being S word, like in a romantic and artistic way as part of her identity. She want to fit that image. It's possible. I mean, only she knows. I also think that probably everything that she's going through is so much harder than she will let on to. And I think that is a problem in general, that I've noticed with people on the internet and just people in general. I think that people think that the right thing, that the smart thing to do is not to show your hand. Um, when you're actually going through something, I'm not talking about like when you have a plan. I'm saying like if you're going through something, if you're feeling really shitty, people give and get this kind of advice that's like, don't show them that you're affected, don't talk about this, don't give them that that validation or whatever. And I so disagree with sentiments like that. I so disagree with the sentiments that tell us to communicate anything other than what is true and what we're going through. So, of course, even if that were the message that everyone were putting out, what I just said, we still don't know with Gabbie. But I do believe that everything that she's going through, I believe she hates it. I think anybody would. And she is a very sensitive person. She's told us she's a very sensitive and insecure person. I do think that she has found coping mechanisms that help lessen the blow with the whole, like, if I troll really hard, then I can attribute that hatred to this version of me that's not me. So when she says like, oh, I've been playing a character, this isn't me, the real me, especially her like spouting all the abusive language and then like the weird like dancing on screen, and also the offensive like faces that she makes with like fake ticks and eyes crossing and all that. It's like, I believe that she created that character to live in that and to be like, this person is going to be super offensive, so that whatever hate comes this way is actually towards that person that I was trying to do that with. So like it worked. And I think that's what happened with her. And I can see why it happened. I don't think it's the right thing. I think the right thing is to tell people what you're going through, or tell somebody what you're going through. But I think that is how she handled it. So when people say like, oh, she just wants your attention, blah, 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 I disagree. I don't think she wants the attention. In a sense, she needs it because it pays her bills. I'm trying to see if I can walk myself back to the other topics that I was discussing. Jean says people should know how their actions hurt you. I agree. And that's exactly why I say that. Like, for instance, if a Stan calls me an ugly bitch, I'm not going to be like, haha, whatever, I'm just an ugly bitch, blah, blah. And I do make jokes about that now. But people need to know that that's not okay. That is a hurtful thing to say to somebody or about somebody. And I'm not going to pretend that it's okay to say those things. So I agree with you. And I think that's important. And if people in the moment get joy out of that, then like, that's their own fucking problem to deal with. It's not on us to gatekeep how people receive information that should be handled, should be received in a certain way. That's not up to us. If they get joy out of it, then they get joy out of it. They're going to get their comeuppance. It's not on us. Amanda says, as someone with OCD, where intrusive thoughts fall under that diagnosis, I don't feel Gabbie Hanna is having intrusive thoughts. This feels like she's monetizing S word for the tortured artist aesthetic. Alistair says, don't like Gabbie, but I don't want her to be hurt. Yeah, I think a lot of us feel that way. As far as the whole tortured artist aesthetic, I think, I don't know. I definitely think it probably helps to try to create this like, this grungy rock star, like Kurt Cobain type of image. But at the same time, I do think that some of it too, I think that she would be doing this if she was making pop music and telling story times. I think that this is her saying that like, I can't handle maybe the breakup and the things that the backlash that I'm getting for the series and stuff like that. I think that she probably I do believe that she is trying to get people to behave in a certain way. At the very, very least, when she said that on the call with Jesse Smiles, that's what she was doing. And I rarely state speculation so firmly like that, but it was completely inappropriate to say that. And so I think it was a means of getting Jesse to do or not do something. So I want to go back to how she and these people responded to this situation. I was saying that it seems to a lot of these stands, and it's unfortunate because yes, there are a lot of children who are watching Gabbie Hanna, but a lot of the stands, especially those that I interact with or I see kind of like the rumblings or what they're saying on Twitter, those people are adults. Almost every one of them is an adult. And the rhetoric around this conversation with them, and also people like Keemstar and all those commentary bros, the people who support Gabbie, who just coincidentally happen to be the scum of the earth. The rhetoric and the narrative they're spinning is that this is all troll behavior. This is people hate Gabbie Hanna, and so we're going to send the police to her house and swat her. She didn't get swatted. We're going to swat her. What swatting is what happened to Ethan Klein. Ethan Klein, who we had no reason to believe was in any sort of dangerous position, had people continually calling and making these wellness checks to the point that he had to stop a podcast to go answer the door, because if he didn't, he would have been taken away. That's swatting. Liz says, hi. I'm late, but I made it. Looking forward to the replay. Yay. Thank you, Liz. Thank you for popping in and saying hi. So I hate that we've completely, when I say we, I'm really talking about them, those people I'm talking about. How is it that you completely glossed over the direct implication? If somebody sends a wellness check on someone, particularly after they say something that concerns you, that they're in danger, then I would think that the first thought, if we're not twisting anything, if we're taking things for face value for whatever they are, your first thought should be somebody was concerned about this person. And instead, so many of these people went straight from, there was a wellness check that was sent on Gabbie, to, oh, there are trolls out there that are just trying to send police to her house because, well, no, I can't know for positive that it wasn't a troll. I do believe it has to have been somebody who has her address. The whole, she got doxxed. Where? I didn't see her address anywhere. It's possible that she got doxxed, but you can't just make that assumption that she was doxxed because a wellness check was sent on her. I could have any person in my life send a wellness check for me. That doesn't mean that I've been doxxed or that it was a stranger or that it was a troll. Jess says, Peenscar blows goats. I have proof. Can you say that? You made me say that. Allegedly. Thank you, Jazz, for that. So I hate this. And it's funny because, there are people who are either, supporters of Gabbie or, like I said, just kind of apathetic towards it all, who look at people like me and others who are critical of Gabbie Hanna and say, like, you just have an agenda and you just have it out for her. I will state, I have a bias. I don't like Gabbie Hanna. I have less and less consideration and compassion for her than I had a year ago. A year ago, I even had more, but a year and a half ago, I have more. I had more then. But the more that I'm seeing that where I was giving her the benefit of the doubt, she's proven me wrong. I still want her to be okay. But there are people out there who are saying, like, Gabbie Hanna, there are people who just hate her and just want her to see her, it all fall down and to see her crash and burn and blah, blah, blah. But then when those people, because we don't know who sent that wellness check, but a lot of us are having conversations around how we think that, like the concern, whether we believe a wellness check it was the right move, a lot of us are expressing concern. Like, yeah, a lot of us have said, like, yeah, I've been concerned for a while. I've been wondering if somebody was going to call this check for a while. Like I find it so disparaging that the messaging around this is that it was an act of harm and not an act of concern. Um, or an act of trolling. Like somebody here might know better than me. Like, is it disclosed to you? I can't imagine it is disclosed to you who calls a wellness check on you. I can't imagine that would be advise people to actually make those calls. So it pisses me off. And I think personally, I said this, I think in Patreon, that I think that it's one thing, like I said, to be like, I'm wearing this shirt, I'm painting, I'm doing okay. Here's your thumbs up. But that's not what it was. It was cheeky. It was, haha, I got you guys. You didn't get me. Thank you, Jessica, for the donation. Just out of nowhere without a message. Thank you. It was the way that she addressed this whole situation so tongue in cheek, with the ha-ha-has and the like, and that, so I genuinely believe that this whole like was kind of like, fuck you haters. I wasn't taken away like you wanted me to be. And I don't think anybody necessarily, I mean, surely some people wanted her to be taken away, but I don't think that's felt that they necessarily wanted. I think last year and this year we've just been like concerned and wanting somebody to check on her. So and then we get into the whole conversation, and I'm only going to touch on this because I'm going to talk about this in my video, but then there's the whole conversation around, is Gabbie Hanna okay? And maybe that's going to be the title of my video. Is she okay? Because I am sick and tired of the whiplash she's giving us, from I'm not okay to I am okay. And not only I'm not okay, fuck you for not caring about me, but also I am okay, fuck you for being so sexist to think that because I'm a woman and I'm standing up for myself, that somehow I'm not okay. Then going back to last summer, oh, how dare you mock me while I was screaming obscenities at people, which, by the way, nobody owes it to you to be nice when you're doing that. But to be like, clearly I was going through something and you guys mocked it. How are we supposed to know at this point? Somebody made a donation. I don't want to lose that. Erica says, if it's troll, alien, BFF, or enemy, we should take her seriously. If we don't, either the worst will happen or she'll say nobody cares in her next rant. Right. And then thank you. That brings up the other thing too, is that this is somebody who's continually accused the audience of not caring. Okay, I'm going to speak to Gabbie Hanna as if she watches these, which she does not, I recognize. But do you know what kind of message that's sending to the greater audience, to your haters, to the T channels, to the people who consume that stuff, to all these people who have it out for you? The message you're sending is that even if we care about you, you're not going to validate that. You're not going to care if we care about you. So this whole like, if, I'm not going through anything, but if I were, kind of fucked up how people are treating me, well, we show care for you and you completely brush it off. You call us trolls, you mock us for it, and you just completely cast aside the concept that we might actually care about you, at least to the extent that we don't want you to hurt yourself. And going back to the whole her super fans and stans, who at no point that I've seen have said like, I'm really concerned about Gabbie, like I hope somebody like calls somebody that can get in touch with her, that can get her help, blah blah blah. I haven't really seen that. but I have seen a whole lot of you guys are trolls. Somebody sent her to the house. Like, do you not care? You love this person, right? Consider the possibility that somebody cared. And it just tells me, and it just kind of gives me that feeling, and I say it a lot on Twitter, it gives me that feeling that these people are indoctrinated, that they are not meant to think in the way they might if they weren't so deep, so entrenched and steeped in the rhetoric and the dogma that comes along with the Gabbie Hanna fandom, to be honest. Jessica says, Gabbie reminds me of the girl/guy in high school who will do anything for attention and find it hilarious for people who are actually concerned. Yeah, and let's talk about that because, well, I'm going to hashtag watergang myself. Let's talk about that. I've told you guys that people have put me in these positions before, and I am going to feel comfortable saying put me in these positions. Yes, I said that this has happened, and the person did apologize, did speak publicly about the fact that they did this and put me in this position, and it was a serious matter, and they appreciate that I did handle it the way I did. Alice says, if it was a stand that called for the check, imagine being that stand. Yeah, they're never going to do that for anyone again after being essentially shamed. Yeah. I actually believe that it was probably somebody who knows her and cares about her. But if she were to accept that, if she were to say that she believes that, looks wrong, you know? So I think it's easier to be like, haha, troll, you know? So, shit, I forgot what I was saying. I really wish that I could just like rewind myself right before the super chats. Oh yeah, these people who have put me in these positions. And, one example is, I've mentioned this on Twitter, and I'm not afraid to mention these examples at all. One example is that there was a person on Twitter who very much dislikes me, who says really nasty things about me, that I had to file a police report against. And my wonder was because they so openly spoke about a very dangerous situation they were living in at home. And I said in a Twitch stream that because it was very public, this thing, I'm going to wait to read the super chats just so I don't lose my train of thought. I said in a Twitch stream that I find it odd that these people just like talk about this stuff like it's no big deal, nobody's doing anything about it. And so it started the conversation about me mocking that person's trauma or what they're going through or whatever. The conversation between me and my friends started to become, okay, I need to call the law enforcement in their area. Do I ask them to check on the person because they have made it so public that this is what's going on at home? And I have been very public too in saying that I lost 2 friendships because there was a disagreement. Ironically, I ended up doing the thing that those people wanted me to do, which was to do nothing. But that was a legitimate concern that I had, that 5 people in that conversation had, about somebody that we don't like, because that can happen, especially when you are a full ass grown adult. You can be concerned about people that you don't like, especially when you're talking about people being in danger. There are plenty of people that I don't like on the internet, but I don't want any of them to be harmed. So like that needs to be like clearer to people on the internet. And why would it be? Because you have people going around telling people KYS, unalive, jump off a cliff, like shit like that. So like in a sense, it's like, why would we just assume people care about us? It's such a mess. It's such a mess. It's such a mess. And it's a huge problem. Then the other example too. Oh, and that was all just to say that, not that I expect people to be like, hey, like, I know that you like were dealing with this and I appreciate you caring about me enough. Like, I would do that, but it's not why I did that. I don't expect that person to thank me or acknowledge that I had that dilemma and that I dealt with it and that I had consequences just due to talking about that dilemma. I don't think that person will ever recognize it, but that person went on to continue to commit crimes against me. How, like, I don't even need to say. I don't even need to say how fucked up that is. Mindy says, I just wanted to say, hey, Leash, and you're amazing. Thank you. Sometimes I wonder if you guys are saying that when I'm getting too worked up. I'm like, thanks. Thank you so much, Mindy. That was really sweet. I love when you guys send the yellow hearts and stuff. I wish that I could be cool enough to where I do like the different colored hearts. The yellow ones are so cute. And then another situation, there was another situation. Shoot, I had it and it was even worse. Okay. So, and I've told you guys about this in a couple of videos that that around the time that Jen Dent's false allegation happened, to the people who were first, to the Gabbie stans that were first to start perpetuating this this allegation, and particularly to the person who said something like, if Jen can throw around accusations, we can too. Plus, if it's true, it should spread like wildfire, and how irresponsible that was. I've talked to you about how I approached that person because I knew that people were filing reports with law enforcement, as has happened in many of these cases. And so I approached these people and I just asked them, I said, do you vouch for the person who started this this rumor, this allegation, this false allegation? Do you vouch for that person? Or is this just something that you wanted to spread for, to be, that could be important. I said, I don't think you'll get in trouble for it, but I do think it's important to state whether or not you vouch for this person who very well might be in trouble. And she said, no. She and her other friend were like, no, I don't vouch for this person. And then somebody else came in. No, Ambrin's been very forthcoming with this. Ambrin was like, no, I came in and I said that she might get in trouble. Because she looked up the laws and perpetuating a false allegation like this via Twitter is illegal. So she said she might get in trouble. And you guys have heard me say too, so I don't need to go on and on about how the culture on the internet is starting to shift in such a way that we are no longer allowed to I don't want to say instill consequences, but like calling the police or trying to reach out to a child's or a teenager's or a young person's parent. I don't understand when we made the shift towards protecting bad and illegal behavior in young people. Part of growing up is learning that you do bad things happen. So that we don't do these things. And instead, there's so much of a bubble around minors on the internet that, and now I feel like I'm way off topic, that they just continue to do these things. Like I said, this person, I'm like, hey, dude, I'm concerned about you to the point that I don't have these two friendships anymore. Can you please recognize that people care about you that much? And instead that person goes and email hacks me. So and that person's not a teenager, but still Moonchild sending all the cutest emojis. Thank you. Just, I don't understand this culture around this behavior, this rewarding of bad behavior. But that was all to say that Gabbie comes back to the internet. That all happened during Gabbie's break, the 6-week break she took last year. And when she came back to the internet in that video with the overalls, the yellow tank top, she talked about her stalkers and abusers and how some of us drove that person to relapse on, I'm not going to say what because I didn't give you a trigger warning, and I'm not even sure if it's one thing or another, but just a relapse of sorts. In fact, actually, I think Gabbie said drove her to rehab and then later saw a GoFundMe to put her in rehab. So I don't know if that ever happened. But the point is, like, as much as I care about people and like I hate to hear that somebody might have relapsed on anything, um, in fact, I checked up on that person. I did. I checked up on that person to make sure that they were okay. But if that situation caused somebody to relapse, then that means, in my opinion, and maybe I'm making a lot of inferences here, but putting myself in that person's shoes, all I can imagine is that realizing I done fucked up and I might get in trouble with the law. That can be, I imagine that is so anxiety inducing because guess what? I grew up learning that bad behavior means consequences. And so I imagine perhaps that person like had that light bulb moment that like, oh God, I might actually be in trouble, panicked and perhaps relapse. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, as in terms of like how I could have been responsible, because that's what Gabbie was saying. And then later, that's bad enough on its own. But then here recently, and I'm just going to say this person is now considered a public figure. The videos out there about this person. This person does not give a fuck what anyone says. Alyssa, the Stan Alyssa, actually had the nerve to go online and to say there was no relapse. We were just laughing at you. That I don't know if that was all to illustrate the point that it doesn't matter if somebody's going to get a giggle out of causing you distress and causing you to act on things like this. You still got to do it. You still have to do the right thing. So I don't buy this rhetoric that it had to have been a troll. You can't. I don't think any of these people can know that, and it's sad that that's the first place they go. And it's the greater audience that caring for Gabbie Hanna doesn't work, which is I was about to say probably the one thing that she's asked of us, but she doesn't. She's not asking that of us. She's asking us to tell her she's right. You're probably going to hear a lot of these same things in my next video. She wants to be right. She doesn't want to be cared for, I don't think. Or I don't know. I don't know. I do get the impression that she wants people around her who are only going to hype her up, like she says, make her feel like the coolest person ever all the time, 100% of the time. I do believe that, but anything short of that, I think might not. And that's sad. I don't know that she sees it as care and concern. So to any Gabbie fans out there that might see this, to Gabbie herself, if just by some act of God she sees this, or if the stands get this message back to her, accept that people care about you enough that they want to make sure that you stay alive. I'm going to continue to feel however I feel about the behavior that you're displaying in these social situations, but I don't want you to cease to exist. And I don't think any of my followers, at least from what I've heard of them, want that to happen. Dude, like, get some help. And I know that some people are like, oh, to say get some help means that you think that people are crazy, blah, blah, blah. No, you had somebody call a wellness check on you because people are concerned all over the internet that you might be thinking about hurting yourself. And all over the fact that you are spreading so much negativity on the internet that people are responding to and criticizing you for, and you can't handle this. There's help out there for that. Get it. It's there. So it's just, many of you can see why this is maddening, why this is something that I can obviously talk about for hours. and it's all stuff that in some way or another has affected me personally. So again, to the people who are telling me don't talk about this anymore, I respect that you have an opinion about this stuff, and I do respect that what I'm talking about is probably like inconveniencing you or annoying you or triggering you or anything like that. But please know that just about every single thing that I talk about when it comes to Gabbie Hanna touches me in a personal way, and for a big part of my audience, they feel the same way. They know somebody who's done this or done that, and losing somebody too young and for a stupid reason is something that some of us is you can't there's no getting over that. um I don't need to get all into grief and stuff like that, but um there's no getting over that. And no matter how much you think, and this is a message just for everyone now, because I have been struggling with, and I did mention that I might be talking about depression. Um, I've been noticing my depression symptoms cropping up a little bit lately. Thankfully, I'm doing relatively okay today. A good bit of anxiety. And I think this has a lot to do with just the fact that I've accidentally missed my medication a couple of times, too many times in a row. Um, but you might have seen, and had somebody. Oh, you guys are sending hearts. You're gonna make me cry. You're gonna make me cry for free, Nayli. You see this? um, thank you guys. I don't want to make you uncomfortable by tearing up, so I'm gonna try not to. Um, but somebody did ask me to address the tweet that I put out that said depression is a liar, depression is a liar, depression is a liar, depression is a liar. I probably said it like 10 times, however many the character limit on Twitter let me say it. I said that because I know the things that my brain tries to tell me, and I'm going to talk to you guys about, I think this is along the lines of ideation. Please know, I am okay. I'm telling you now, I do not have a desire to hurt myself at all. I have several, right now I'm just fidgeting with this thing because these little plastic hanger things irritate the shit out of me. I have, just so you know, if anybody's concerned about me ever, I have several backup plans in place, but like the one big one is just like, if I seriously think that I'm about to walk into a liquor store or a bar, or I'm thinking I might want to do something that might hurt myself, my plan is to just take myself to the hospital. I've been to the hospital. I've been to the psych ward so many times. I'm not afraid of it at all. And in fact, it's the one place. Say, Jack, I love you too. Oh, Rachel, let it out. I love you. I love you guys so much, so much. The people around me on the internet are so cool, guys. Like, I can't. But just, in case you don't know this about me, or in case you don't know this about hospitals or mental wards or anything like that, I have Meg does something, says, I'm so sorry you've been feeling so sad. I completely understand because I'm depressed too. And it is a liar. You're wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Rivi says, Depression Lies. Also, read Furiously Happy by Jenny Lawson. Thank you for the recommendation. So what I was going to say was that I have come to believe that the safest place I can be is a hospital. And if people have differing opinions on that, that's fine. I'm still going to feel this way. Life with Sage says, Leash, it's okay to cry. We love you. Thank you guys for telling me that. Alistair says, Alicia, I hope you're doing okay. I do worry about you. Thank you, Alistair. Please do trust that I am honest with you guys. I am honest with you guys. And so if I am doing okay, I'm not doing okay, I'm going to tell you the truth. Audie says, love you. I love you too. I love you back very much. Mindy says, sending love to you, Leash. You're so strong and brave. It's also okay to cry. It's not being weak. It takes more strength to be open and vulnerable. I agree with you. Thank you for saying that. I actually very much believe you guys have probably heard me say several times, believe in a good cry. I'm probably going to go over a little bit just because somebody did ask me to address this, but I do believe in a good cry. Me trying to stop that is just like, I know that some people get uncomfortable when I do. I personally don't have a problem with it. Hail P says, I've been crying on and off all day. Depression sucks major donkey, but you're amazing. And I have so much love for you. And all the cutest, sweetest, most like sparkly and magical emojis. Thank you. For some reason that made me so happy. Thank you. Somebody asked me, please talk about depression is a liar. And it's because I may have to just say what I'm going to say, and then I'll go through and read the super chats, you guys. I know that a lot of psychological disorders are liars. Like anxiety is is a liar to a lot of people. I feel it in my body oftentimes, but when it comes to depression and those thoughts that like oftentimes for me, I don't know how it is for you. I'm sure some people can relate. There's this feeling of like, why do I do this thing called life every day? I get up and I work and I work and I go to sleep and then I get up and I work and I do it again. Why? What's the point? Or, even worse, sometimes the whole feeling that like I'm so lonely, people don't care about me. It's never going to get better from here. These are things that like wherever some evil being invented depression, they made it so that depression would have these voices that say things that are untrue. Because when we're doing better, we look back and we go, "Oh, those things weren't true." Like maybe life sucked at that time. Maybe sometimes it does suck to get up every morning and do the same thing and to not want to do it. And you got to just keep doing it. You got to just get up. You just got to get out of bed. And but sometimes it helped me at least because I was having those thoughts. And then I remembered like, Alicia, we've been here and you've had thoughts like this before, and then you felt better and you didn't think those same things. So while those things may be true to an extent right now, they're not the truth. So I wanted to put it out there because I wanted to get, you write something, you put it somewhere, it can either like take that off your mind or at least can actually express intention around something. And I truly started to believe it better. But I also thought somebody else needs to hear this. And that is why I tweeted that. Depression tells us things that are simply not true. And for those people whose depression has really gotten a handle on them, and because of depression, they're no longer with us. Sometimes I think about like this friend that I have from college and something that happened with his boyfriend. I just like when I think about like the traumatic experiences people might have had when they see certain things, I can't handle it. I've never heard of a case where that's happened and nobody cared that person was gone, that nobody cried. And it sucks because sometimes people don't take it seriously when we do want to reach out. But there is someone, there's always someone. And with the internet, like let's start using the internet for good a little more, please. Please. There's always somebody you can talk to who cares. And that's that, if nothing else. Life, no matter who you are, life can get better. I know that for some people, circumstances are just so bad that it's almost insensitive to say that things could be better. But there's always something that can be done that can make things a little bit easier for you. And that's really just something that I needed to remind myself of to help make sure that, I got through the day and that helps it to subside when you remind yourself that those thoughts are not truth, that this is the truth. Even if I don't feel it, that's the truth. And so you kind of me personally, I shouldn't speak for people. I shouldn't speak generally, but I look forward. I lost my earring. I look forward to those days when I start to feel better. So that's what that was about. To the person who asked me to discuss depression as a liar, thank you for asking me to talk about that. I'm refreshing my super chats because I know I missed a bunch from you guys, and I want to read what you have to say. And I'm sure that there are messages that other people need to hear too. Why this computer is so slow, I don't know. It's not the internet. Okay, so Moonchild, I see what you did there with the 333. Okay, let me go back to the last one that I read. Okay, Lucy said, so proud of you, Leash, with the yellow hearts. Thank you. Oh, Logan, I needed to hear depression was a liar, so thank you for that. I hope you guys don't worry. Alistair, I'm talking to you too. I don't want you guys to worry. It just, it moves me emotionally more to see that I affect other people than to just experience these things alone. Logan said, I need to hear the depression was a liar, so thank you for that. And I love you, Leash. Yellow heart for you. I love you too, Logan. You're the best. Ellie says, it hurts to see you cry, but don't stop. Get it out. We love you. I love you too, Ellie. Thank you. Lainey says, Tear Ducts just wanted a hashtag water gang moment. I'm telling you guys, I do it every time. Thank you for that. Shelby says, depression lies, anxiety lies. The truth is that you're very loved and have accomplished what I grew up thinking was impossible. You're living proof of strength. Thank you for sharing, Leisha. Thank you so much for that, Shelby. Moonchild, thank you for creating this place for us. Thank you. Thank you guys for building this with me. I don't want to be, I sound cheesy as fuck, so what? But thank you guys for building it with me. The people come, this is basically a podcast. It's not a real podcast. It's not organized. It doesn't have the best equipment. There's nothing formal about this. I don't have producers, and yet people come here because of the people who come here. And so, I just think that's a really fantastic, amazing thing. It's you guys need to take credit for that too. And October says, listen to Broken Pieces Shine, Far from Heaven, and Part of Me, Evanescence. I'll send a story for you. It might make you feel better. Thank you for the recommendations, October. So, let me see. And I think I might have missed another, so I'm just refreshing. Slow computer. I'm looking at the chat while I wait for it to load. Tangents on the Veranda. I mean, there are definitely a lot of really cute names for this, but I'm not going to pull a Gabbie Hanna and rename my podcast every 2 months. I see that Rashawn Cox just sent a donation. Thank you. And let me see, Lola Bunny, I need to expand your comment. Lola Bunny says, depression, updates, can you go away, please? I'm trying to read something. My computer's trying to remind me that it's giving me the news. What the fuck? Go away. Depression is such a liar. Currently living for my kids, but it's hard sitting here crying with you. I hope that instead of just you guys being, I love that you guys are there for me. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. It makes me feel so much better. I hope that this is that you guys are intuiting this yourself. And I'm afraid that I might have lost you. Are you there? Y'all are there. Okay. My computer started to do really weird things, so it really started to worry me. I see that somebody else said, Martin listens. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. I really empathize with you talking about depression, even though I know there are people who care about me. I often find it hard to talk about, like, people won't take me seriously. Yeah. I feel like there's probably always like that one person who will listen to you, and instead we focus on the people who just don't know how to handle those situations, like, not that this is true of my mom, but as an example, like, say my mom doesn't get mental health, like, it's easy in a depressive moment to be like, see, mom doesn't even care. When in fact, like, if I were to text Christina totally understands and can take care of me. And I just think that the internet is a really great place to find those resources if you are feeling that way. There are a lot of nasty sides of the internet, but one of the upsides is that you can endless resources you have. So I'm refreshing my tab to see if there are any more that I might have missed. But I really appreciate you guys letting me get emotional and just talk and talk and talk and just that's what this is. That's what BAP is. It's really just a 2-hour stream of consciousness for me, and you guys let me do it. Some of you guys even say you enjoy it. Well, why? I don't know. Therapy should be free. I agree, Jazz. So I'm not seeing any. I'm hoping that I didn't miss any donations. Flower Girl Power says, love you, Leash. Been in psych ward lots too. A bit scary at first, but the help reignited my inner sunshine. Wishing you bright sunshine too. Thank you. Meg Does Stuff says, speaking of all the good on the internet, I met so many people who also lost a parent to the big C after losing my mom, and it helped so much. I'm so sorry that happened. I'm glad that you were able to connect with other people. Whew. That was heavy. Rashawn Cox says, as a therapist, thank you for making this a safe place to talk about these things. It means the world. Thank you. Thank you for the therapist endorsement. That flatters me like you don't know. But yeah, I don't want you guys to worry because you see me cry. I know for some people that means something different than it does with me, and especially me. I tend to cry too, even more so when I'm flooded with with good emotions. Dee says, "Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for letting me be vulnerable." I am definitely going to take my evening to putter around the apartment. That's for me. That's my thing. Like, everybody's got their thing that just makes them, kind of calms them down. For me, it's just doing things around my apartment. So I'm going to do that with what time I have left tonight. Now is be that more like sap. I always mention my Patreon during these, like, you guys know, if you're new to this, a lot of the people that you see in these chats are my patrons, particularly the people you see with the in blue with the wrenches. Those are my longtime patrons. And we do have, now I want to make it clear that I do have a mental health policy. So if you're curious, please visit helloleash.com/mental health. But So, no place on the internet, unless it's like online therapy, no place is a replacement for therapy or medication or whatever, like, things that a clinician would recommend for you. Shell Bell says, kiss, kiss to all my depression babes out there. Sweet. However, if you are looking for a space of really great, fantastic people that are there for people in times of need, we do have a place. Well, I was going to say we do have a place, but we specifically have a few places on my Discord, in my Patreon, where people can go just to talk out these things that they're experiencing. Again, if you're in some sort of crisis situation, it's not for that. But if you're just like, if it's just day to day, like, my depression symptoms are kicking up today and it sucks. Like, I know things are going to get better, but I just need to get it off my chest. Like, it's a good place for that. And I think I would venture to say a good bit of people joined the Patreon for that aspect of the community. And I want to say thank you to my patrons for making it such a lovely place for each other, and for people who consider joining, for people who feel lonely. Somebody pointed out to me, and it hit me really hard. Somebody pointed out to me that for some people, this is where they go for social interaction, and it's a really important place for a lot of people. So please know that as my Patreon has been booming, which is really exciting to see, but that also means that it's rude, but it also means that it's going to be like, it's constantly under construction, but especially right now, developing protocol around things and stuff like that. But otherwise, I think it's a really, really cool place. Yeah. And if I haven't asked you guys to like the video, if you wouldn't mind giving it a like. Yeah. Our lives don't sate you anymore. You need your fix. What is your fix? What's 1,000 nudes about? I would get demonetized if I opened it up for you, but it's amazing. It is a book I found in a thrift shop in New York. I was took a New York trip by myself, and it was raining, so I had to like hop into little places, and I popped into a thrift store and I saw this book. I opened it up, and it's just like nudes from like historical times. So like the 1800s and stuff like that, and they're just like raunchy pictures that people took, and you're like, oh my god, like I can't believe they took pictures like this. It's crazy. It's funny for me to look at, but it's really just shocking. So that's that. Check wrenches. Is it something that I need to do while I'm on BAP? I missed a super chat. Thank you so much. Kayla, I'm assuming is your name, said if her behavior is intentional, like she said, then she's intentionally making her friends look bad for not getting her help. Does she not care? Yeah, that's a big one, because even if I had a friend like that is like, I'm doing this intentionally, like, like, don't worry about me. This is just an act. I'm just trolling, blah, blah, blah. I would still stand up and be like, no, dude, like, this is concerning. At the very least, you're concerning the internet. And I don't think I could be friends with somebody like that. I think that I would have to go to the internet and say something and make a statement. It's not something, I don't believe that it is our responsibility to make statements about where we stand whenever something goes on with our friends. But when you're in a situation like this where people are concerned, I think that Peyton and Irene need to step up and say, at least tell us if they know that she's okay. Are you checking in on her? I get it that Peyton is quiet. Peyton is a private person. I get it that, and for him, he may be like, hey, I've cut my ties with that girl. She lied when she said that we were best friends. Then that's fine. I understand if you don't want to be involved. But Irene, to be your best friend, and she's the type of person who's like, doesn't get caught up in the drama, keeps everything light. Still, you have a responsibility. So that's my thought on that. All right, guys, I'm getting super hungry, and I'm so glad that I got to talk to you guys today, and I'm looking forward to this next video. It's going to be about Gabbie Hanna. If you don't like that, sorry. Still going to do it. Doesn't mean I can't take criticism. I hear your criticism, but that's what it's going to be. And for any of my patrons, I will see you on Discord, as well as, I should mention too about Patreon. I'm going to see you on Thursday, because Thursday nights is when we do a live, and followed by our Omni Club stuff. That is where you're more likely to see the cats. That's what I was trying to say before, is that is done out there in the big open space, and so the cats come around sometimes. All right, I see everybody's already saying goodbye to me. I love you guys very much. Yes, please subscribe if you haven't. That would mean a lot to me. I'm closing in on 50K, and that would be so cool. But yes, leave a like or a subscribe or comment, or, or nothing at all. Good vibes would be great. All right, guys, I love you. I'm going to go eat. Bye. I'll see you next time.